it was in New Orleans. I ran for the job vice president for chapter development. In those days, the vice presidents had a specific job to do, like chapter development or chapter activities and the like. And I almost resigned after my first meeting with the Kappa Executive Committee, because I was raked over the coals by some of the old timers, because I suggested and did more than that. I had a plan developed whereby we should that the society should seek to establish chapters on major college university campuses. For example, at the time, I believe not one Big Ten school had a chapter, and right now, I haven't checked recently, but I doubt that there are more than one. They went the research route, and the faculty members and the deans at these places, and the Pac-10, Berkeley and Southern California, Washington, Oregon, Washington State, and the like, they didn't have chapters. And I thought, my goodness, here there were Harvard didn't have a chapter. Stanford didn't have a chapter. I'd much rather have a chapter at Stanford than I would to have 10 chapters in some place that was not going to enhance the society. And we have some places like that. And I don't mean that they're bad schools. It's that in an organization built on the notion of campus chapters, the idea of the prestige comes to the organization partly as a function of where the chapters are cited. Well, I was criticized pretty strongly and told to stop that stuff and we'll go. So I made my case as best I could, but my side lost. I saw then that there was a possibility of making some changes, because there were some new people coming into the executive council orbit, I'll say, are likely to be they were on committees, and they were likely to be candidates for office. And I thought, well, I'll stick it out, and then we'll try to be see if I can't be influential in Kappa Pi nationally on this way. It worked out that way. I was defeated for re-election in the Orlando convocation, but then I ran for president at the Chicago convocation 2 years later, a president-elect, and I was elected. My opponent was Bonnie Davis from University of Southern Mississippi, and at that time the election of officers was held at the convocation, not by mail ballot. So it was a matter of our folks getting in this place and really working hard to meet people and try to influence them to look at my record and stuff as that. But it turned out that I was elected president of Kappa Delta Pi, president-elect, and then I became president of Kappa Delta Pi 2 years later at Houston, I think it was, and if not there, I can't. But anyway, and for something like 4 months, I was president of both Kappa Delta Pi and ASCD. My term with ASCD was over. And I would relate that kind of thing to the work of William Chandler Bagley, for whom this award is named. Bagley was not only just the founder of Kappa Delta Pi, he was a major figure in American education who worked in a number of different, more areas than I worked in. But he was active in associations. He was active in school surveys. He was editor of the School and Society. He saw opportunities to write he saw opportunities for his students to be involved in both Kappa Delta Pi and in other groups, and I took notice of that, and one of the real pleasures, I guess, delights of my own career has been that a number of my former doctoral advisees have become chapter counselors at institutions at which they have taken positions. Your work at Texas A&M University, for example, Lynn, is a major example of that sort of thing. But it's not. It's these have not been casual relationships with Kappa Delta Pi and the local campus where these former students are or have been, but intense, long-term relationship. Now, this raises a question about which is invariably raised in people in asking questions about how you are pushing your own people. I never considered my former students to be my people. They are dear friends of mine. They are former students of mine, but I don't own them. They are independent operators. Each one has built a career away from, on top of the work that they did as students in graduate school, just as I did. And the idea that somehow you or Sherry Field or George Mahaffey or keep on going down the line, that these people would kowtow to me is just absurd. They might ask me my opinion, but if theirs is a job, if theirs if they're in a position to make a decision, it's their decision. I certainly I may or may not be influential, and I certainly I've had, I guess, most of my former students who've been active in association work have stood toe to toe with me and told me in very short words that I was a fool or that I was wrong, and it hasn't mattered a lick to our friendship. It's absolutely that's what I expect. I don't expect them to be like me. I don't think any of us teachers can expect our students to be like we are. That sometimes people can recognize. You work with Harold Drummond. Thus, you are so. No, I worked with Harold Drummond, and Harold Drummond wanted me to be myself, and that's the kind of thing I've wanted for my own former advisees. My point in bringing this up is that there's several points that I could make, but I want to be sure to relate it back to Bagley. Leadership in this case is not commanding. It isn't establishing a cadre of individuals who are on call to do my bidding. If I've had the support of some of these good friends, or if I've not had their support, that's just the way life is. I firmly believe in the power of individuals within a community, and it certainly doesn't mean that everybody gets along all the time or does or sees things the same way. I remember Marcy told me once that after I was left the executive council, after I was past president, she made some statement, and somebody on the council who had usually voted against me, my proposals all the time, said to her, "Marcy, if O.L. was here, you wouldn't do that." She said, "You've got to be kidding." Said, "I've differed with O.L. on lots of things. As a matter of fact, there's not many things that we agree on. The point is that we express our disagreements, and it's over. We'll continue to be friends." Well, it seems to me that's a great tribute to both of us, and I appreciate your telling me the story, and I take some comfort in that. In many respects, was much like Bagley. I think he worked in teacher education, but to describe him as a teacher educator only would be to miss the richness and the fluidity of his work. From the time I was a graduate student at Peabody, I was interested in I've been interested in history, and particularly the history of the school subjects. Put another way, history of the curriculum. I think I would not be properly seen as a historian of education, but because that's much too broad for what I've been interested in, and it's away from the center of my focus. But after I was ASCD president, and I began to work with at the time is a group called the Midwest History of Education Society. It's now called the Organization of Educational Historians, and it's less a regional group than it is a national group now. I also became very active and helped organize the Society for the Study of Curriculum History, a group that continues to go, I guess, strong, and you've been its basic major domo for many years, secretary and publisher and a whole. I think that my influence in these two groups has brought a lot more people into them, to their work, and it has helped me focus some of my attention on matters which have both historical interest as far as background goes, and the relationship of that background to contemporary actions in curriculum development and textbook authorship, adoption, and both formal texts within textbooks as well as that which is not said or omitted. And because it's the part of my this focus has focused the last part of my career. I think some people might think that that's the most important, and it is. I'd like to just say it is important, but I haven't forgotten all that other stuff. I haven't neglected it, except that I'm really excited about doing what I'm doing now. I've spent with my older son Luke. I've spent weekends and weekends sorting through files that I have accumulated over 40 years at UT, and I refuse to throw away not just a folder or two, but file drawers of folders of all sorts of interesting materials. As much as I have gotten written, I have as much, I'm sure, that has not been written, but deserves to be written. I'll never get to it. I'll run out of time. I'll run out of energy. Whatever. I say it this way, and I don't mean to be. I just mean to be true. I'll be 85 in November. I never expected to live this long. My father and mother, my father died earlier. My mother lived longer. But I just never thought about, I seriously never thought about how long I might live. And I have more, and I hope somebody will raid my files and take over what I have started and continue it and publish it. I've spent several years gathering material about English schools, the curriculum of English schools during World War II, and all those. There's been some very good work done on that area. None of them have taken the slant that I have taken in some of my work, and certainly not. There's much that I have collected that is simply it just hasn't been dealt with. I have a piece that I've wanted to do. It's a short piece. It's about notified that I would be getting. Will be called the William Chandler Begley Award for Leadership in Education. There's another award, one in research, and it's the Truman L. Kelly Award for contributions to research. Truman Kelly was a faculty member. He was a graduate of Illinois, a member of the first Alpha chapter at the University of Illinois. Took his PhD at Stanford. Came to UT Austin as a young professor. Helped establish Delta chapter, and then he went. I don't know if he went directly from here, but he wound up at Harvard and was there many years, and served as laureate counselor for a long time. He's an excellent. He was one of the founders of Kappa Delta Pi, and I think the society is long overdue to honor Kelly, as with the others. There's one for service to as a Musselman Award, and there's one other, but I don't remember frankly what they are right now. My work with Kappa Delta Pi, I think, needs to be seen in the context of the larger, of my larger efforts to contribute to making education stronger, to my interest and activities in encouraging high academic achievement for teachers, both those who are beginning and those who are continuing education. And the personal contributions. Kappa Delta Pi has, unlike many of the other groups, Kappa Delta Pi is an organization that welcomes high achieving undergraduates who plan to be teachers or educators in a variety of ways, and and this goes through the career cycle. Whether an individual stays in teaching in an elementary or secondary school, or teaches in college. For those of us who have, I suspect that most of us who have spent most of their career in college teaching, or who are now spending most of their career in college teaching, recognize that this is another phase of the work that they began earlier. This is not something just brand new. I'll be a college teacher. No, because we wouldn't have the background and experience that is so important, that enables us to see possibilities, to relate ideas that we come across, that others suggest, that we could analyze and accept or reject, and pursue that decision through our teaching and work with, not just with students in our classes, but also through associations of kind of like-minded people.
Well, we started just off talking about when you went to college.
Yep.
And that education was a prime target for lots of criticism. And I think today is a day when education is back in that same position.
It is. It hasn't gotten out of it.
It hadn't gotten out of it. And so,
no.
How do we see, or how do you see teachers leading?
The easy thing, and they'll say the easy, and I think the unworkable thing, is to suggest what John K. Galbraith proposed in the economic spheres of our society, which was countervailing power. Teachers, rightly or wrongly, have seldom been activists in public for their own benefit. That's one thing. There are most of us who've taught in schools, whether it's working with student teachers or teacher candidates in a college program, or whether it's in as an administrator in schools, know of teachers who don't match up to a general criterion of interested in their subject, interested in children and youth, who are marking time. What I'm doing here is using some of the language of the opposition to teachers. We know people like that. It would take only a few people to be disciplined, lose their jobs, for people to become, you mean teachers would do that? The fact is, none of the professions do that. It's a talk. Medical charlatans are alive and well. the legal community protects its own. I don't believe that countervailing power, in Galbraith's terms, it will work here. On the other hand, I think we must find ways to welcome new people to the profession who are strong academically, strong in their commitment to children and youth, as well as strong in commitment to what some of us have called, which some of us some of us emphasize as democracy, or the culture of our nation. Let me give a crude example. When I visited Japan in Japanese schools, one of the things that bowled me over was a symbol in front of every Japanese school. It was a statue. That is, the manufacturer of these statues must be doing a good job, because there's one at every school. It's a statue of a boy carrying his books on his back, and it's a story of this boy coming to school after being up early in the morning, doing work, in a sense doing work for the family, but he's going to school because not just his family encourages him to go to school, but because his culture does. Our society is bifurcated, but it's more than that. It's trifurcated, and we have schools that would be good candidates to have that statue in front of them, because the parents of the children, and the general culture of this town says, sure, you should go to school, because in school you'll be able to do X, Y, Z. And by the way, we are neither in Japan nor certainly in the United States do we in the culture give serious attention to the possible life work of individuals who would not choose literary or mathematical scientific work. The idea that there'd be in this Central Texas area be computer programmers or assembly workers on the line putting together computers, and or as people are surprised when they hear that there's one school in the area has one of 20 programs in the state to prepare boys and girls to become meat cutters, and they all get jobs. They get jobs not only at HEB in Georgetown and in Austin and other places, but they get jobs away from this area, and they move from the area. we've got to have people who do all of these things. My point is not that we should emphasize only one kind of study, but we certainly we need to. Our culture needs to talk directly instead of out of both sides of its mouth. We need strong backgrounds in the arts and sciences and literary pursuits, and certainly we do in science. But we also need all the other kinds of things to be done in society. I've gotten lost in my reverie here.
So teachers as leaders.
Yep.
Kappa Delta Pi members are teachers at various levels.
Yep.
School, university, community. What are the areas that so in other words, one area they could lead in is leading with a vision of what education is for and the types of education. How else might they lead? Or
well, then I've very popular in the last 20 years has been the idea that schools should empower teachers to be leaders. No, I think that's absolutely a silly notion. In the first place, nobody can empower anybody else. People have to understand that they have power themselves. I think there is risk to this. It's real. It's economic. It is potentially devastating to an individual and a family. But it needs to be that way. Somehow, teachers and administrators must, I think, find ways to work together such that they think and discuss matters toward making decisions which have to do with what can be done in a school, rather than believing that we need or must have a superintendent or principal or department chair who tells teachers what to do. Americans are not very much for being told what to do. That's not what most Americans understand as participants in the democratic process. I realize that my remark here strikes back to a 1930s attitude about democracy, but I think I've earned the right to say that sort of thing. We simply must be aware that some people don't want to change. And when they don't want to change, we have another problem. But for the most part, in most schools in which I've worked as a consultant or worked as a teacher or principal, I've found that most teachers want to do a better job than they're doing. It's not that they feel like they've done a bad job. It's just they want to do a better job. And how can I do a better job? Indeed, I would like to I would like to have help on understanding how I might be a better father. It's a very difficult thing to ask for help, whether it's a father or a teacher or what other kind of other role we're in. And maybe but in John McMurray's terms, I think we must strive to build communities, not something that somebody calls a community, but a community in which people are accepted, people are accepted even though they disagree with proposals, they vote against proposals and the like, that they defer voting, for example, until they have kind of squeezed out all of the juice from the discussions that are possible. I don't mean that that teachers and others should just discuss forever without making a decision. No, decisions need to be made. But one of the things that's so aggravating to many teachers is that we discuss stuff in faculty groups and the like, and nothing happens. Oh, here we go again. We'll do it again. Here's where I think that a modest but very effective kind of leadership can take place, where a person says, look, we've done it, but we haven't made a decision yet. Let's decide that if we make a decision, A, do it this way, which we've talked about, or this way, or another way, there's bound to be different outcomes. Well, what can we foresee? How do we want our school to be? How do we want our students to be? How do we want subject matter to be portrayed and all the like? These are kind of never-ending questions. You mean we're going to just continue to do the same thing over and over? Well, I'll try an analogy. It won't work very well, I think.
We got 1 minute.
Okay. I've for the last 6 or 7 years, I've had a lot of health issues. Well, one of the things that happens every time I go to see a physician, he takes my temperature, blood pressure, weighs me, does a lot of stuff. Why didn't he just forget about that? No, those things are important, and then he can go to other things which are important. We teachers can do similar kind of thing. We just haven't squeezed out the essence to deal with that yet, but we will.
Okay, we got a little bit left. Do you want to? You've got enough for this. Do you want to finish your 3?
I've run out of voice, I think.
Do you want to?
I'm delighted.
Okay, I was going to say something about receiving the award.
Yeah, I'm very pleased. I'm delighted that I was chosen to receive the award, the William Chandler Bagley Award, the Founders Award for Leadership. It's all of the awards in their special areas are important. This one is especially important to me because of my long service with Kappa Pi and my recognition of the contributions of Mr. Bagley.